Welcome to Take Another Look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo with a genuine conversation about what's missing from the human connection. Let's join Melanie and Gerda now.
Welcome to Take Another Look podcast. I am Gerda Felix with my host,
Melanie Taddeo Malo.
It is a pleasure for us to have you with us today. And today, before we start, I want to make sure to let Melanie tell you how she is doing today. How are you, Melanie?
I'm doing great, Gerda. Thank you so much. It is, you know what? The weather is amazing. The summer is here. And well, it's not really summer, but the weather seems like it. And I've been able to celebrate. How about you?
I am too. Before we start.
Yeah, go for it.
Before we start, I want you all to know that we will be talking about celebration. And I wanted to read something for you. It is from the wisdom of Heschel. I hope I said the word properly. And here is what it says. People of our time are losing the power of celebration. Instead of celebrating, we seek to be amused or entertained. Celebration is an active state, an act of expressing reverence or appreciation. To be entertained is a passive state. It is to receive pleasure afforded by an amusing act or a spectacle. Celebration is a confrontation, giving attention to the transcendent meaning of one's action. And having read this, I truly agree, especially that celebration is a confrontation, giving attention to the transcendent meaning of one's action. What do you think, Melanie?
You know, that's powerful. And it's funny because so many of us kind of combine celebration with parties, right? Mm-hmm. So really, truly, we got to get back to the basics. Why are you celebrating? What are you celebrating? What accomplishment has been achieved, or what has this individual brought to the table or to the life, or whatever it might be? Because think of it, Gerda, how many celebrations have you been to where there was not a party? Of some sort, in some form, let's face it, because there's a celebration of life and perhaps it's not a party, but really we tend to intertwine, don't we?
Yes. The reason that I wanted to talk about this subject is because I was working with a coach, and every time I met with her, the question was, what are we celebrating today? And she made me realize that it is important to do so at least once a week, without the party.
Yes.
Or with the party.
You know, it's interesting because you're right. And I think as human beings, we don't celebrate the small things. It has to be a big milestone, or it needs to be a birthday, anniversary, something like that. But everyday things get lost at the importance. And so I love that the coach started every day. What are we celebrating? That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because what I have learned from this is that in our interactions with others, in everything that we give, and whether it is positive or negative, we have given a part of ourselves. Mm-hmm. And if we are able to celebrate, we are also able to recognize who we are at every moment.
That's powerful, Gerda. Absolutely. And, you know, it's interesting because I think what we have to also realize is it's not just about it's about celebrating ourselves as well as others. So that will also tie nicely into gratitude, because I'm pretty sure for me, the things that I'm accomplish or I may celebrate about myself I'm grateful for that opportunity to learn, to grow. Or if I'm celebrating somebody else, I'm grateful for that individual. So it goes kind of hand, but let's get back to the celebration part. What areas of your life are you celebrating, Gerda?
I am celebrating my growth because I feel that especially this year, it's been a year of growth to understand more and more who I am. And knowing that I am being very intentional in everything to know who I am. Because by knowing who I am, I know, for example, who I can be with, who I can accept as a leader, who I can also mentor, who I can work with. It tells me so much, not only about myself, but also who am I subjecting myself to? Because that's the that's really the main part, since we are always in connection with others. Who am I subjecting myself to? And knowing this has helped me as I continue to know who I am.
That's
What
beautiful.
about
And
you?
you know, it's interesting because I was going to say I'm celebrating my personal development, my personal growth, and understanding myself truly. It's been a journey. You know, of course, you understand yourself to a certain extent, but really understanding what's important, the areas that we need to still improve on, and recognizing them with self-reflection. So I celebrate the fact that I'm allowing myself the freedom and honesty to be able to reflect and be honest to help myself grow. Because it's great to say, oh yeah, I learned, I know. But actually to dig deep and look at what it's going through, what you're going through, what you, even when you fail, looking not at it as a failure, but what did I learn from the situation? What would I do differently? Taking that time and allowing myself to be honest. And to me, I'm celebrating that because the transformation for me this year has been impeccable. And I feel that I also am really excited when I get to celebrate my students. So working with them and seeing the small things they do, the improvements. We had to do research papers this week, Gerda, and I know I hated research papers. And the students that handed in their assignments, I was so proud of them. You know, they at the first of the week, 5 pages missed. Come on, that's too much. Oh, you know, it was a history of a radio station. And I said, this is going to show me who's serious and who's not. And I got 5 pages from every person. So I knew they had it in them. They didn't know it, but I knew it, and they proved it. And I'm celebrating their accomplishments.
Mhm. And it's so very important.
Yeah.
It's so very important.
Yes. So, Gerda, I have a question. So when we celebrate others, whether it's a birthday, an anniversary, or just because I don't know about you, but I've had people just send me a card, thanks for being you, or my husband giving flowers just because. How do you feel when somebody celebrates you?
Wow, that's a good question. I know for me, it brings me, it makes me more aware of what I have done and who I am in that person's life. It makes me, it makes me become even better because I know that what I have done or who I am being, it is being appreciated by somebody else. And it allows me to be even better because I know I have pleased or I have helped or I have been of service to someone else. Because I truly believe that as we celebrate and in everything we do in life, yes, it helps us, but it is always in connection with someone else.
Mm-hmm. What I find interesting is some people react well to being celebrated, others don't like it at all. And I always wondered why that was, but I realized that it's because growing up, a lot of people have been told, don't brag about your accomplishments, you know, don't talk too much, don't show off, don't be, you know, bossy, like this, look at me. So we kind of mute our accomplishments, but yet there's so much to celebrate, even if it's just something small. And it's important that we do recognize these. So I still notice a lot of people don't like to be celebrated. Oh, don't worry about it. It's not important. It's just another day. Or they may like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. People react differently. But yet, isn't that part of self-esteem and self-worth, is celebrating ourselves and realizing what we're capable of?
That's a good question. I do believe that we tend to be or become the product of our environment if we are not so conscious. That's the if.
Yeah.
Because for me, if you notice, I always say if, because I tend to look at both sides. Second of all, I rarely talk about self-esteem because I truly believe that all this comes from a lack of self-knowing.
Mm.
So if we learn to know ourselves, and that everybody who's heard me before would know, this is the subject that I talk about the most. If we learn to know ourselves, there's no such thing as self-esteem, because you already know who you are. And because you know who you are, you will hold yourself in high esteem. And that's why I don't personally talk about lack of self-esteem.
Yeah.
I believe that it's a lack of self-knowing.
Okay.
And the other thing is, when we become conscious, when we receive something new, a new knowledge, that's when we can move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Until then, we only can either speak, either act from the way we were conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
That's my answer to what the question was.
That's powerful. That's good. Excellent. So when is too much celebrating? When is it too much? You said once a week, right? Or your coach, whatever you were doing every session. When does it get to that point where it's too much, or does it?
Well, I think if it is only about oneself, then it is definitely too much. As you asked me this question, I'm thinking of the song, "I'm too sexy for my shirt." That's what I'm thinking about. That's why I'm laughing, because if it is to that point, then we know that we went completely on the other side.
One far extreme, yes.
Exactly. So that's when I would say that it's too much. But each of us learns to know what we need in order for us to feel better or to feel good about ourselves. My coach said at least once a week. We could start every day, even if it was with an affirmation. As we look in the mirror, thank you, God, for the person you have created in me. It's already a start for that. And we can celebrate. You can celebrate who you are in that little sentence. It doesn't have to be something big all the time, but we do need to come back to, and the way I've said this many times, when I say I am and you are, God's masterpiece. And that's the way I say it. Why? Because it allows me to see, to learn, to understand, well, who that masterpiece is. And if I think about it this way, then I take the lens of myself and look at it to, okay, what has God created? And let me discover that person.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is for me. What about you?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's interesting because every morning I wake up with a thank you to God for another day. When you have that brush with possibly losing your life at an early age, you're very thankful for every additional day you're given. Mm-hmm. And that's why I celebrate every morning in that moment of quiet with, that thought process and having, a few minutes of prayer. But I then go on, and every time I see something amazing happen, I celebrate that moment. And it may not be like, oh, yay, dancing and all that stuff, but it's just like in awe. So outside, the weather, as mentioned, was good this weekend. Sitting outside on my balcony for the first time after a stuffy, locked up winter, I celebrated the fresh air, the nature, the beauty. Even if the cars were honking, people are out there revving their engines. For me, it was just that celebration, one moment, just of awe. So again, everybody's different. And I find that when we understand what's important to us for ourselves and in our lives, then there will be plenty of reasons to celebrate. But also understanding that even when things don't go well, there's still things to celebrate. What we've learned, how we've grown, perhaps being lucky to have survived, whatever the situation might be. So just looking at that half full cup rather than the half empty perspective.
Absolutely. I believe that a celebration is a moment to pause and realize who we are, what we've gone through, and giving ourselves permission to accept things as they are and to appreciate things as they are.
That's perfectly well said. That's great. But we know, because on the other hand of celebration, not necessarily celebrating about ourselves, but when we celebrate others, or when people celebrate us at an event, let's say, is there a time there's a celebration that really impacted you? What was it and how did it impact you, good or bad?
Well, you see, last night, my friends from my volleyball team, they organized a surprise retirement party for me. And I'm laughing because, even to now, I'm still thinking about how that celebration affected me, how it touched me, how thankful I was then, and I still am, because I felt that I was appreciated and loved. And that made such a big impact. And even this morning when I woke up with a smile. And the first memory was the memory of the party. And that's when I thought, oh, that was super good. super good. So that's how a celebration can change someone's life. And that's why it's important. What do you think?
It's interesting because I'm going to go another angle with this. So there's so many celebrations. I could list like all of the amazing, my wedding, all those things for the positive things that impacted. It was a beautiful day to celebrate a monumental thing. But having celebrated my aunt's celebration of life, and I know it seems kind of odd for me to talk about, but I was really at a loss. We lost my aunt very quickly before we even knew it. We didn't have time to prepare, and any loss is hard, but this one really caught us off guard. And she was like my second mom, and I didn't have time to say goodbye. And that really troubled me. So of course, the family had decided that there was going to be a celebration of life, which I love that concept because, being old school, raised old school Italian, you go to mass, you do the rosary, you do the funeral, and you go to the gravesite, and then you don't celebrate. It's all very teary proper, and you don't have proper time to celebrate. Yeah, you have a wake and a party after, but it's not a celebration of life. So at my aunt's celebration of life, they had a slideshow with pictures and all that stuff. That's great for people who can see, but for myself, I wasn't able to see those. But what was so special was hearing all the reminiscing of the stories and being able to share my fondest memories of her with my uncle, my cousins, and anybody that was part of her life. And I celebrated her in the biggest way. Like she was, when I had my stroke, she was by my side. She was rubbing my arms and legs with olive oil, trying to get the circulation back. She would feed me, she would give me hassle, kick my butt, all the things that needed to be. And I celebrated all of those moments. So it was almost like a montage of memories for me, but then in a moment to celebrate and to just remember her for who she was as an individual. And for me, that type of celebration, of course, and I don't know about you, Gerda, but whenever anybody passes, whether you're at a funeral or a wake or a celebration of life, you really start to question your own mortality and that sort of thing. And I thought, what a wonderful way to be remembered. And it was just so powerful. So really that was the one that impacted me the most.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know that in 2020, I went to many funerals, many celebrations of life. And I know the question from that year was, did this person know what they meant for the others? That was the main question I kept asking myself all the time, because I've gone to so many celebrations of life in 2020. Did this person know what they meant for the others in their life?
Bring things really to fruition about celebrating each other on a regular basis, so people do know that, because it shouldn't be after they're gone that we share those memories. Every day we should be letting them know we're celebrating them and thanking them for what they've meant to us. And that's just my take on it. But
and I agree.
Yeah.
And that's why it is important. And at every moment we have the opportunity to do so, even if it is with a simple thank you. Thank you because you've done this. This is what it meant to me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now, before we started recording, Gerda, you and I toasted each other. I know that sounds weird for others, but it was so powerful because we're celebrating each other and what we mean to each other. And it was really great. And of course, who doesn't like to be toasted? But I found it, so thank you for suggesting the exercise, because it was a powerful thing that I think boasted both of us, and you never know when you need that. And again, it was beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your toast as well.
Yeah,
I have, my two main love languages are words of affirmation and spending time.
Makes sense.
So when I can do that with people, I know I'm in my level of genius.
Yes, 100%. And again, so important. I encourage everybody to take the time to toast the people you care about, because it's a great way to put your thoughts into words and to let them know. And it doesn't have to be every day, but once in a while. And it doesn't have to be at a special occasion. So Gerda, when we talk about celebrations, where I'm going with this. So Gerda, you are an event planner extraordinaire. Share with us the most exciting celebration that you have ever planned.
Resonance of Stars. So far, that has been the biggest. Resonance of Stars.
So proud.
And yes, it was way up there. Resonance of Stars. And I believe that there are more that we can do, and together there are more that we can do.
Oh, definitely. And we were able to celebrate all the members of that Toastmasters Club. And that was a powerful experience. Everybody felt heard, seen, valued, and respected, just as they are. It was beautiful. And I find that when we plan an event, whatever it might be, a birthday party, a wedding, taking the time for the details, and you do this so well, Gerda, is really having meaning behind what you're doing when you're planning. I know my sister is looking at planning her wedding coming soon, and she's stressed about it. And I'm like, oh, but you, and I'm like, no, Melanie, stop, it's not your thing. Because you know how much I love to play, right? But no, let her enjoy this, because it's got to have meaning for her. But is there any celebration that you have planned, other than Resonance of Stars, maybe it was for a loved one, that you really paid special attention to the details?
Well, it's funny to me. It's funny for me to reply, to answer this question, because I believe that I plan details for everything that I do.
Mhm.
That's what I believe. That's how but having said that, I have learned to plan details and also to delegate to people who are better than me at certain things.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you, I was celebrating my sister's 50th birthday. And I, plan everything and the food event in my head, for the many people who were coming, and even some people were bringing food. Not everybody, but some people brought food. And at the end, and we had fun. We enjoyed ourselves. My sister loved it. She smiled a lot that night. But one big thing is that what I realized when the night was over, there was no more food. And that was a surprise for me but my sister, organizes parties. There's always food after, there's always food. And I realized that, no, that's not my level of genius to
Yeah.
plan for the food. But it was a great party, but that
Mhm.
was the lesson I learned. So when we are organizing anything, please allow people to help you in their level of genius.
100%. Somebody might be able to take care of the baking or the cake or whatever. Other person might be in the decor. Somebody might be good at the invitations, the music, whatever. Just break it down. And you're right. Definitely focus on what we are great at.
And it's also a way to celebrate them, because
Mhm.
by allowing them to be who they are
Yes.
and to thrive in who they are,
Mhm.
that's a celebration.
Absolutely. So not only are you celebrating the main attraction or main event, but everybody in their level of genius. I love it.
What about you? Has there been one for you that
It's interesting because I will say there's been so many little, like I love planning. I planned my sister's bridal shower and we had a breakfast at Tiffany's theme. And everything I had, little like their bonbonniere was a box, the Tiffany box with the ribbon of truffles. And all these little things, everything. And of course, I'm really good at delegating because I can't do a lot of the stuff, but I had it down to a science. I was going to do the invitations, everything, all the same theme. And I love that. I love seeing something come together and just seeing how happy it made my sister. And it was a brunch and it was perfect just because she didn't want anything fussy. And when oh, really, do we have to do this? Because again, it's not always about the person. Sometimes it's about making family happy. So she was quite pleased with the outcome and that made me happy and know that I did something really, really good.
that's
I
very
love
good.
planning. I love planning. That's my thing. It's more about the planning stages, making sure, okay, got everything organized, check, check, check. But it's hard not to try and offer your services all the time when people are planning. It's like, no, stop it. Just
And you are very good at it. I will testify to that. You are
thank you.
very good at planning.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And
Sometimes
that's why I think we work very well together.
yes, you come up with great concepts and I'll help you put the plan in place.
Yes. The vision.
Yes, exactly. So celebrations. In our life, Gerda, is there times that you feel that we should not celebrate?
That's a good question. If I believe that celebration is a moment to pause and reflect and understand and be who we are being and what we are learning, I would say no, if I believe it that way. But if I go the other way in terms of, there are tragedies that are happening in the world. So therefore we are to be very, to be in empathy, I would say, when people are suffering.
Yes.
You know, if someone is suffering, it's not the time to say, woohoo, we can get there. You know, like just move forward and
Yes.
be, you know, it's not going, this too shall pass. No, allow the person to, you know, express and be in their emotions. Allow them, give them permission to do that instead of just, you know, spewing beautiful stuff.
Party time. Yes.
Like, in that moment, no, it's no time for celebration.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. What about you?
No, I was thinking the same thing, because I think that although, yes, you know, it's important to celebrate our own personal, those pause moments, I think we do need to be mindful of the extenuating circumstances around us. I'm sure that you heard in the news about what happened in Buffalo yesterday at the Tops grocery store.
No.
No. Okay. So a young 18-year-old went in military gear with a rifle and started shooting people at the grocery store in it was a racially charged, motivated attack. And majority of the people killed were people who were Black. And again, it was a Saturday afternoon. A lot of family, it was a family community as well. A lot of family was out and around doing everyday things, obviously grocery shopping. And it's interesting because this was happening and it was on the TV and it was happening like in my house and outside, because we live across the street from a big square, a celebration square to be exact. And they were having this celebration. And it really upset my husband and I. Were like, what is going on? So it closed the doors, the windows, because in that moment we needed to just reflect and pause and show our loss and sorrow for these innocent people. But the people out in the celebration square had no idea what we were going through. So I think it's just to be mindful of what's happening around us and just being aware. So that's just.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. And you know, it's this balance in everything. You know, it's like it's this balance, because, you know, as you asked me, did you know what happened yesterday? No, because first of all, I don't do the news.
Yes.
That's one thing. So because of that, a lot of times, if I don't go on Facebook or I don't talk to someone, then I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. So to know that we all have our own experiences and we are going through our own experiences would probably allow us to be a little bit more open to understand that we really do not have the same background, the same understanding, the same knowledge, the same, and give each other some grace in life.
Beautiful. Yes. And it's very true, because again, another tragedy that's happening obviously now is the war in Ukraine, but yet life goes on around the world and we just have to be mindful. And I love the fact, give people grace. And that was well said, Gerda.
And now it is time. It is time. We've had a beautiful conversation about celebration. And I hope that everyone will take a little bit time to do just that. And Melanie, if you had just one last tip or comment, what would that be?
I would just take this time to say to you, Gerda, and to everyone, I celebrate you and what you mean to this world. And I celebrate myself and have a wonderful time. Oh, and last, of course, please reach out to us on takeanotherlookpodcast.com, on our social media platforms. We'd love to hear from you. We're always looking for feedback, as well as if you'd like to get involved in the conversation, whether it's about celebrations, about anything, we'd love to hear from you. So please do reach out.
Yes, and until we hear from you, or until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Take care.
Bye for now.